So Gary, assuming for a moment that the intellect could be this disembodied transcendental source of objectivity and logical analysis of the world that isn't in any way corrupted by the conditioning of the body, by our evolutionary development and our um, instincts and reflexes, or by the society which has given us the language that the intellect uses to express itself. Assuming that none of that influences the intellect's clear, objective view of reality, let's just look at what the shortcomings of this intellect would be then. When we're dealing with morality, we're dealing with um, issues that concern how we experience our lives. We're not necessarily dealing with something that we could make abstract theories about or build models about. Um, at least as I see it, morality is something which must run through our whole being. It can't just be something that makes rational sense. It has to make emotional sense too. Um, like Pascal said, the heart has its reasons that the mind can never know. And I think there's a lot of truth in that statement. Um, that the intellect itself, what does the intellect do for us? It seems to reveal to us when we have believed in something which isn't really true. It allows us to analyze certain situations, um, break situations up into components, and see when those components may contradict each other. And through this process, we come to an understanding of where we've made mistakes. But the problem is, the intellect seems to create this sense of disquiet, whereas before, in the state of ignorance, we were sort of serene and blissful because we didn't know we were making mistakes. We didn't know we were being immoral. The intellect comes in and says, well, wait a minute, your moral behavior is inconsistent because of such and such, and this is true. But the problem is then, it doesn't seem like, to me at least, the intellect is capable of quieting this disturbance that it has created. To do that, it seems that we need something beyond the intellect, because the intellect can perpetually doubt. You can come up with the most succinct and consistent moral theory, and this has been done over and over and over throughout the history of philosophy, and yet it will always be overturned by the next generation's thinker. Aristotle had an ethical system. It was pretty good for his day, and most philosophers after him thought it was pretty good. And then, until Kant comes up with one, and Locke has another one, and John Stuart Mill has another one, and they all contradict each other in certain ways, but they're internally coherent, and you can be a utilitarian and say that the basis of morality should be the greatest good for the greatest number of people, and you can make sense of your life that way. But you can also be, you can base your morality on Kant and say that we have to follow the categorical imperative, and whenever we behave in a certain way, we have to be able to universalize that action so that we would be okay if everybody else did that. So if we lie, say, to justify that action, that lie, we have to ourselves say that, well, I wouldn't be offended if everybody else lied as well. But then we're sort of, we can't say that. But the point I'm trying to make is the intellect can construct any number of objective moral systems, but they're only objective until we find another equally objective moral system that just lies outside the entire framework of the prior moral system. And, this ongoing process of philosophical deliberation, of intellectual inquiry and investigation doesn't have a discernible endpoint, as far as I can tell. And so if we just rely on the intellect to provide us with a final, objective moral truth, I think we're kidding ourselves, because we will always doubt the truths that we come up with. They will never stand forever. There's no evidence of that ever occurring in the past. So there needs to be something more than just the intellect involved in our morality.